Merry meet, Willow here, and welcome to Whispers of Willow. This show is in association with my Willow'S Witchy Den 101, bringing you education for all things in the craft, learning you about different aspects and the areas that we feel are most important for beginners and those that are seeking more education in witchcraft. So, on tonight's show, we're going to be talking about the Samhain, which is the Halloween celebration that us witches celebrate, celebrating the thinning of the veil. The veil opens between our world and the spirit world. We dedicate and we honour our ancestors and the dead, and we also celebrate the witches' new year and our last harvest, the most important harvest, the harvest that helps us to go through our winter months, the months where we are still, where we are calm, and where we contemplate, the months where we can celebrate and enjoy the bounties and riches that we have grown and manifest over the years, whether this is through physical form. Maybe you're a farmer. Maybe you're somebody that grows your own plants and your own flowers, and you're able to bring your own magic into your practice. Whether this is somebody that is just simply open and enjoys the magical practices, enjoys the seasons, uses herbs, maybe not so much in the way that they can grow them, but they still buy from others in the world that are witches and spiritual practitioners themselves. So we celebrate those that bring us bounty and riches, and sowing the Halloween celebration that witches celebrate is a very important time of year. Yes, it is about the ancestors and about the dead. And sometimes even the Day of the Dead is known to be part of this too. But it is also that time for the witches' new year, the beginning of a new year, new decisions, new plans, and new ideas, new magic, and new way. So I hope that you're going to enjoy this show, and I hope it's going to bring lots of education and understanding to you. I do ask that please make sure you've got your pens and papers, and please write down any factual information you feel will be privileged and good for you in your practices. Remember, your practice is your own, and so is your magic. You can take advice from books, people like myself, but remember that in the end, your magic becomes your own, and you'll learn and adapt to ways that you feel comfortable in doing your craft. But it's always good to have that pen and paper there just to get information to help you on your journey, or to help you to continue to study and educate in the practice that you've already been in. And for some of you, maybe it's just a refreshment of the mind. But whatever it is, enjoy this amazing show on the sewing, which is our Halloween celebration. I will be turning off the camera, and I will be putting a few pictures to do with this amazing celebration that us witches celebrate. And I will take you on the journey of the sewing, the Halloween festival of the witches, the new year, the new start. So let's start. So, the Samhain, guys, our celebration where we honour and look after the dead. We call out to our dead, to our loved ones, and to the ancestors, and to the spirits that walk our realms. The veil is thin and open, and it is said to be the time when spirits and when our living world can be together as one. Even though a lot of us know that spirit and energy are around us at times, the Samhain is a very Samhain, which is what some people call it. Sewing is another one. That is how I used to call it, Samhain, sewing. There is so many different ways that people say this name as well. So yeah, the Samhain is that festival for celebrating your ancestors, celebrating the spirits, celebrating the spirits of those that you don't even know, celebrating the spirit and the energy of the energies that you work with, giving them homage, showing them honor, celebrating by doing massive, big bonfires with others, singing, dancing, and lots of feasting food, enjoying the energy and celebrating in the new year of the witches, the beginning of the year. For most of us, we celebrate the celebration of New Year, obviously at the end of December, as we know, going into January. But for the witches, it is on the Halloween that we celebrate the new year as well. And what you've got to remember is it's the last harvest, so it's the time where we're thankful for all of the bounties and the riches that we have got over the year. Whether this is things that you've grown, or this is stuff that you've manifested and brought into your magic, things you're trying to manifest, ideas, plans. Whether this is you manifesting a business, whether this is you growing your own herbs, whatever it is, we have all been doing things to bring more greatness into our lives over the year. And this is the time to celebrate achievements and those achievements that are going to come, and to be grateful for the gifts and the bounty that is given to us by our Mother Earth and Mother Nature, and by those that work upon us to make sure that we can live comfortably in life. This is about honoring everybody as well as the spirits, and celebrating the witches' new year, and celebrating the fact that over the winter's months we are going to have our bounties and our riches that can keep us going and keep us flourishing. Obviously, in the olden days, a lot of people were poor and they found it hard to come by special things and important things. And a lot of their bounty, a lot of their riches, a lot of their abundance, a lot of what they were come from what they did as work. So working in farms, healing, doing all of these sort of things that now we have other practitioners and people to do for us. But the olden days were all about being natural and being open, enjoying the riches of the world, and that's where the riches came from. And the Samhain is the time to remember that. The sowing is a time to remember that, and it is one of my favorite times of the year. Standing there at the sowing with all of your candles lit, all of the beautiful oranges and yellows and beautiful fiery colorful colors in your home, feeling that energy of the deceased around you and your spirit energies around you, feeling that new year coming to you is such an amazing year. And also being able to sit there and remember all of the things that you have achieved or you are working towards achieving, and thinking about also the things to let go of and the things that do not serve us, the things that do not help us. This is the time of year that you would do these things. So I'm now just going to get into the education. And I'm obviously reading from what I have wrote down. Some of this is got in education, and some of it is my own knowledge. You call it Halloween, we call it Samhain. In much has not changed for modern witchcraft cultures at Halloween. This is still the time of year when everyone wants to focus on scary movies, visit Salem, and interview a witch for a article, or these days a podcast. I still hope for some balance in this, for people to realise witchcraft once more a huge obsession across society in yet another wave of popularity, this time driven by social media engagement, is something we witches do year round. And we do. We open up, we work, we do a lot of our work and our opening to our clients, our people over the internet and things like that. So yeah, it has changed in that way from the past. Normally it would be just turning up to somebody's house that you know is that way and talking to them and that, but now we can use such things as computers and all other things. So that in that way it is really good. But it's always still very important to remember to not lose your way and your true self. Do not get pulled in by the social media. Still believe in your natural ways, still connect with nature and connect with other things. It's really important. Do not lose your way. So you call it Halloween and we call it Samhain. Halloween has its origins in the British Isles, whilst the modern tradition of trick or treat developed in the USA. It it too is based on folk custom brought to this country with Irish immigrants after the 1840s. Since ancient times in Ireland, Scotland, and England, October the 31st has been celebrated as a feast for the dead and also the date that marks the new year. Mexico observes the Day of the Dead on this day, as do others in other world cultures. In Scotland, the Gaelic word is Soen, pronounced Sorwin or Sorvan. It means literally summer's end, which is, yes, the warmth, the heat, the growth of the mothers, and of all of the world and the natural world is starting to come still. Everything is starting to die and wilt away, ready to grow the next year. So it's all starting to become calm and at rest, which is what we find as witches that this time of the year is about as well. We start to calm. We start to realize that a lot of the things that we would do through the warmer months we can't do no more. So then we use the bounties and the things that we have made and we have got, and we use them over the winter months. So there's so many ways to be able to celebrate the riches and the bounties that you get in life. This holiday is also known as All Hallows Eve Ho- or Hallow means Hallowtide and Hallow Mass, Hallows, the Day of the Dead, All Souls Night, All Saints Day, both on November the 1st. For early Europeans, this time of year marked the beginning of the cold, lean months to come. The flock were brought in from the fields to live in sheds until spring. Some animals were slaughtered and the meat preserved to provide food for the winter. The last gatherings of crops was known as Harvest Home, celebrated with fairs and festivals through many places. In addition to this agricultural significance, the ancient cult also saw the sowing as a very spiritual time because of October the 31st lies exactly between the autumn equinox and the winter solstice. It is theorized that ancient peoples, with their reliance of astrology, thought it was a very potent time for magic and communion with spirits. The veil between the worlds of the living and the dead was said to be at its thinnest on this day, so the dead were invited to return to feast with their loved ones, welcomed from the cold, much as the animals were brought inside. Ancient customs range from placing food out for the dead ancestors to performing rituals for communicating with those who have passed over. Communion with the dead was thought to be the work of witches and sorcerers, although the common folk thought nothing of it, because the rise of the church led to growing suspicions of the pagan and witches' ways of country dwellers. Samhain also became associated with witches and black cats, familiars or animal friends, bats, night creatures, ghosts, and other spooky things. The stereotype of the old hag riding the broomstick is simply a characteristic. Fairy tales have exploited this image for centuries. It is so much more than that. It's about the celebration. It's about the celebration of our world, where once flourishing has now gone to sleep, has died, so that it can come back greater the next year. It's being grateful and showing that respect and that honor to all of that energy. And the sewing is the most amazing celebration to do that. There would be women dressed as witches, Kyria in 1910. Divinization of the future was also commonly practiced as this magically potent time. Since it was also the Celtic New Year, people focused on the desires for the country coming year. Certain traditions such as bobbing for apples, roasting nuts in the fire, and baking cakes, which contained tokens of luck, are actually ancient methods of telling fortunes. So, what about the Jack o' lanterns? Other traditions have survived to this day. Lanterns carved out of pumpkins and turnips were used to provide light on a night when huge bonfires were lit, and all households let their fires go out so they could be rekindled from this new fire. This was believed to be good luck for all households. The name Jack o' Lantern or Jack o' Lantern means Jack of the Lantern and comes from an old Irish tale. Jack was a man who could enter neither heaven could who a man who could enter neither heaven nor hell, and was condemned to the wandering through the night with only a candle in a turnip for light, or so goes the legend. Pumpkin carving festivals on Boston Common, Crier 2000, but some folks' names were commonly given to nature spirits like the Jack in the Green, or to plants believed to possess magical properties like John O'Dreams or Jack in the Pulpit. Irish fairy laws is full of such references, since candles placed in hollowed out pumpkins or turnips, commonly grown for food and abundant at this time of year, would produce flickering flames, especially on cold nights in October. This phenomenon may have led to the association of spirits with the lanterns, and this is in turn with the lantern, and this in turn may have led to the traditions of carving scary faces on them. It is an old legend that candle flames which flickered on Samhain night are being touched by the spirits of the dead or ancestors and ghosts. So, what about the candy and costumes and what comes into that? Trick or treat, as it is practiced in the USA and all over the world, is a complex costume believed to derive from several sewing traditions as well as being unique in this country and other countries. Since Irish immigrants were prominently Catholic, they were more likely to observe All Saints' Day, but Ireland's folk traditions died hard, and the old ways of sewing were remembered. The old traditions of going door to door asking for donations of money or food for the New Year feast was carried over to the USA from the British Isles. Hogmanay was celebrated January the 1st in rural Scotland, and there are records of a trick or treat type of costume. Curses would be invoked on these who did not give generously, while those who did give from their hearts were blessed and praised. Hence, the notion of trick and treat was born. Although this greetings was not commonly used until the 1930s in the USA, the wearing of costumes is an ancient practice. Villagers would dress as ghosts to escort the spirits of the dead to the outskirts of the town and the end of the night's celebrations. Trick or treat became a way of letting off steam un for those your ban poor living in crowded conditions. Innocent acts of vandalism, soaping windows gave way to violence. Cruel acts. Organisations like the Boy Scouts tried to organise ways for this holiday to become safe and fun. They started the practice of encouraging good children to visit shops and homes asking for treats so as to prevent criminal acts. These beggars' nights become very popular and have evolved to what we know as Halloween today. So, what do us modern witches do at Halloween or at Samhain? The Samhain ceremony is an important holiday for us. Witches are diverse and practice a variety of traditions. Many of us use this time to practice forms of divinization, such as tarot or runes. Many witches also perform rituals to honor the dead and may invite their deceased loved ones to visit for a time, if they choose. This is not a sense in the usual sense of the word, witches extend an invitation rather than summoning the dead, as we believe. The world of the dead is very close to this one. So on Samhain, and again on Beltane, May the 1st, when the veil between the worlds is thin, we attempt to travel between those worlds. This is done through meditation, visualization, and astral projection, because witches acknowledge human existence as part of the cycle of life, death, and rebirth. Sowing is a time to reflect on our mortality and to confront our fears of the dying. So it very much is about that, being able to become at one with dying, becoming at one with what the concept of dying means. Dying is part of the world, part of life. We're all going to have that happen to us at one point. So being at peace with that and realizing that when we pass, when we go, that our life is not done. We continue life, we continue new ways. And as witches, we believe this, and we know this by communicating and connecting with the other side as well. And so could a lot more of you if you really believed in it and opened your heart enough to it. There are things out there, and that world does exist, and your loved ones are with you all the time. But just at certain holidays, you can feel them just that little bit more closer. And the sewing and the Beltane one are two of the most important ones to do that at, because that's when they're said to be around a lot. So yeah, it's really important to enjoy that and to celebrate that, but to also remember that we're all connected to these things. Halloween, potluck feast. Some witches look on Samhain as a time to prepare for the long, dark months of winter, a time of introspection and drawing inward. They may bid goodbye to the summer with one last celebratory rite. They may have harvest feasts with vegetables and fruits they have grown or homebrewed, cider or mead. They may give thanks for what they have, project for abundance through the winter. Still others may celebrate with costume parties, enjoying treats and good times with friends. There are so many ways of observing sewing, as there are witches all over the world, and we all celebrate individually and different. So, what are some of the witch practices that we use on the sewing? Us witches perform various spells and rituals on sewing, focusing on themes of release, reflection, and divinization. Common rituals include burning a list of things to release, performing a ritual bath for cleansing, creating a silent dinner to honor the ancestors, and casting spells for new beginnings, and using fire or bay leaves to write all of those intentions on. The bay leaf is a really good leaf to write down anything you're trying to reflect or you're trying to manifest, or even anything that you're trying to get rid of. Bay leaves are really good, and so is fire. Fire is really good at getting rid of unwanted energy. So when we say releasing, that's releasing anything that doesn't serve you, doesn't feel right to you anymore, things that are just not working with you anymore. You would get rid of them, reflecting on the things that you've been doing and you feel are going somewhere, and thinking about them more and seeing them growing more. And divinization, which is a form that is used in witchcraft by us witches, which is a way of communicating with the dead, whether this is through ourselves or through cards, runes, pendulums, dowsing rods, whatever it is. We like to communicate with the dead on sewing. The sewing is definitely about divinization and communication with the spirits, but they are also central to the sewing, using methods like scrying, tarot, or silent reflection in front of an altar. So sitting in front of your altar, having your candles on, having all of your decorated altar with all of your sewing colours, so all of your fiery colours, beautiful colours, flowers of that season, tools and decorational bits that would represent something. So skulls, anything that you would get that's spooky wise to do with Halloween, putting decorations up, decorating your house, dressing up, going out and having fun. All of these sort of things are really, really important. And when you're doing the altar, you light that altar and you use the areas that I've just said to you about, the release, the reflection, and the divinization, burning away something that you don't want and releasing it and asking that to be given back to the universe, and performing rituals of cleansing. This can be cleansing through sages and Palo Santo woods and doing it in your home, but also taking baths and stuff and putting your salts and your spiritual protection and cleansing herbs in it. Silent dinners to honor the ancestors. This is normally where you would set up a place and you would make your favorite dishes that you know that you and your family and your loved ones would love. And you make those foods up and you open a place for them to come and join you. You celebrate them and you call them through your ritual and you ask them to celebrate and to come and enjoy the feast. But you also call out to your other energies and other deities and other loved ones or people that are just passing that are on the other side. All of those good energies, calling out to them and inviting them to be able to just have a day where they're remembered and where they're celebrated. This is a really, really important time of the year. And doing this stuff does involve making sure that you've got protection and you're wearing protection stuff, so bracelets, necklaces, stuff like that. Doing certain prayers for your protection, keeping your home and your secret space and you safe, and just invite them in. Invite them in for the meals and for the feast. Do the ritual and the spell. Then maybe celebrate with them for a little bit, playing music, singing, dancing, whatever. All of these sort of things they absolutely love. It is a lot about worshipping and showing your honor to the dead, but it is also about being grateful to still have life, so celebrating life as well, and being able to come forward in a new year. So here are some more details in the spells and the rituals for releasing and cleansing. Okay, this is one of the important things we do. So for a release ritual, write down things you want to release from the past year on a piece of paper. Safely burn the list in a bonfire or fireplace or a cauldron, visualizing the release as it turns to ash. So when you're doing this, make sure that you've got your altar set, you've got your cauldron, or if you're not using your altar, you're standing outside, have some of your things from your altars outside with the fire somewhere just placed, so you've got that energy. Have the fire and just place that piece of paper that you've wrote down all the things that do not serve you anymore, the things you don't want anymore. It doesn't matter what sort of things. It could be somebody troubling you, it could be that you're having really bad times in your relationship and you need to remove that negative energy. It could be something as much as releasing past trauma and pain and grief and things that you've gone through. Whatever it is that's in your life that troubles you and hurts you, this will be the time for you to be able to release that, okay? So release ritual, just write down everything you're wanting to release over that year that you've had onto the paper and safely burn it either in your bonfire. If you've got a fireplace, put it in a fireplace, or in your cauldron, but visualize that energy, okay? Visualize as that paper burns, visualize that energy. Think about the things that are upsetting you, the things that are not serving you, okay? See them in your eye and then see this light just gradually move it away, so it moves further and further and further away from you. And then you'll see it just go, and you'll suddenly just feel like all of that trauma, that trouble, that problem has gone. Okay, so that is one way. And just make sure that you always do it in a safe place where there is not going to be a really bad fire that's going to need a fire engine to be called, and so that your house stays safe, because not everybody goes out to bonfires and places like that and do rituals with other people. Some of us, like myself, are solo witches and we do everything from home and we work in our gardens. So make sure that you make your garden fireproof and safe proof. If you're not doing it outside and you're just doing it in your house, make sure you've got your back door open or your front door open, and just do it inside. But just make sure you're using your cauldron or you're using a burning dish that is going to take that heat. You do not want to be having any accidents. The next one is a ritual bath. Take a cleansing bath with candles and incense. Stir salt into the water, visualizing light entering your body, and then imagine the light flowing through your palms into the water to cleanse you. So visualizing a white, gold, or silver energy of light within you. See it in your hands and put it into the water where your salt and everything is, placing the salt. And I always say to do it in a clockwise motion. Like just swirl in a clockwise motion, because swirling in a clockwise motion is bringing in positive things, and when you do it anti-clockwise, then you are literally removing things. So clockwise is bringing in and anti-clockwise is bringing out, taking out. Okay, so you're doing clockwise because you're wanting to bring in all of that positive, that protective, and that cleansing energy. So you would think about those things as you're doing that, and that is a spell itself, guys. It's not all about casting and using your spells and your wands. Sometimes your spells are within you. All spells start from us. From the minute we think and we speak, a spell is cast. It's there waiting to be manifest. Okay, so remember that you can do that. Just visualize that energy. See that ball of light coming from your hand and going into the bath, and your bath water is turning into this bright light full of that energy and is cleansing and protecting you and so on. Another thing to do is house cleansings. It's really important. I do house cleansing daily and regularly, but on certain Sabbaths, such as sowing, it is really good to go around, perform a cleansing around your house, cleaning your doors, your skirting boards, your walls with special cleansing waters that are made specifically for that. Going around and using sage, palo santo, and sandalwood, and saging and cleaning around the house. If you don't have the actual herbs or the sticks, you can use incense sticks to do the same thing. And I normally do instruct you as well to just put one white candle on as well, that represents the purity and the cleansing and the good energies, just to put on as well when you're doing it. And welcome it in your home. See that energy coming around your home. Manifest and see that gold, white, or silver energy just in your home, expanding through your home and cleansing all that it touches. So spells and rituals for new beginnings. Manifestation spells. Write a wish for the new year on a bay leaf. Hold the leaf to your heart while visualizing your wish coming true. Then toss it into a fire while saying, "So shall it be." Always say, "So shall it be." So, obviously, for this one, as it says, write down a wish, something that you really, really want for the next year that is coming. Okay, write that down on a bay leaf. It is the best leaf and herb to use to write down on. It helps to manifest, remove, and all sorts of things. Okay, So once you have wrote what you're wanting on that bay leaf, if you have to write it on both sides, it's fine. Do not panic. Write it down. Hold it in your hand and then place that to your heart and start to visualize the wish that you asked to come true. Now, the important thing about visualizing and manifestation is not sitting there and thinking about you getting it. You've got to see yourself getting it. So, say for instance, you ask for a new house because you're needing to move from your old one and you're needing a new house. You don't manifest looking for the house, you manifest seeing yourself getting that house, moving into it. You see yourself moving your boxes in it, you see the keys being put into your hand. You manifest and you visualize that actually happening, that's happened for you, that wish was granted. When you do that, it puts that energy into the universe that tells the universe that this is something you really need, and it's important. So doing that is really, really good. So yeah, so you would visualize your wish of it coming true, and then you would toss it into a fire. So into your cauldron, into your bonfire, into your fireplace, whatever. Just make sure the dish is heat proof and fireproof. That's all I'm gonna say. Then one of the most known ways that us witches would do, if we are more people that are in covens and stuff, or if we've got a big enough land at home that we can do a big massive bonfire outside, then you have got bonfire casting. Now I have done a few, I've gone to a few little bonfires and I have experienced it, so it is really cool. So you walk around the bonfire it says indoors or outdoors. Bonfire, your cauldron, your candles. Remember that, guys. If you're not somebody that can get to a bonfire, just light up a number, 7 or 8 candles. Make sure there's enough light to fill that your room up. Okay, make that fire so it can be seen and so the energy can be felt. Okay, so make sure that all of your candles are on places where it's safe and it's not going to catch fire. So whether you're inside or you're outside, okay, you start to walk around the bonfire, envisioning yourself adopting healthier ways of being as you move clockwise. So walking clockwise around your bonfire or around your little altar that's got your candles on it with all of your sewing decorations. Walking clockwise, doing this, envision you becoming healthier. Envision you being able to move forward, you being able to adapt to the new things of life. Anything that you're thinking about when you're walking around that bonfire, you may be casting because you want something in your family to happen, to help them, or a friend that's in need and you really need to help that person, you need something. You walk around this bonfire thinking about that situation. You can write whatever's worrying you down and throw it in the fire as you're doing it, but envision those things being adapted, okay, and you becoming higher and healthier in yourself and in your magic to do this, and walking this on a clockwise motion. And remember to say this: you can say an incarnation to welcome new opportunities. So you could also walk around and you know call out for new opportunities, new pathways, new doorways, new guidance, wisdom. You can call out to your energies and do that as well. You would just walk that fire clockwise, closing your eyes, envisioning it as you're doing it, then open your eyes so you do not walk into the fire. Just envisioning that energy. And as you're moving, you will be manifesting that energy. It's really important to know that in any type of casting, always have your body moving, whether that's walking, singing, dancing, whatever. That is what manifests and brings the energy of the spell to life. So the next rituals that we love to do on Samhain is the spells and rituals for divination and honouring our ancestors. This is the most important part of our practice, as well as celebrating the new year and being thankful for the things that we have and being thankful to be able to rid the things we don't need. The communication with our ancestors, with our loved ones, honouring them and showing them respect and communicating with them is a very, very important time for us on Samhain. So There is the silent ancestral dinner, where you prepare a meal and set a place for your ancestors. Eat in silence, creating a space to tune into your intuition and extrasensory abilities. Leave a portion of the meal outside for them afterwards. So you can leave food outside for spirits and energies that may be passing, so you're not forgetting them as well. But you can set up a place in your home for them, put their food there, and just leave a little bit to the side as well to put for the spirits outside that are not coming into your home. Obviously your spirits, like your guides and stuff, will be in your home anyway because they work with you and things like that, so they will probably join in as well. But this is the time of year where you would put out like foods that they enjoyed, but you would also put foods that are associated with sowing out. So like soul cakes, for instance. I love to make soul cakes on sowing, which is a cake that is made, and like in the olden days the soul cakes were made so that the poor could take them to the richer houses so that they could get either money or food, and they would give these cakes to the rich families, and the rich families would be blessed to keep negative energy away. So this cake was specifically for that. There are other traditions to it as well, but that is what the soul cake is. But there are so many other things that you can do as well, pumpkin pies, all these sort of things that illustrate different significance to the spiritual realm and to the celebration of sowing. Okay, so prepare a meal and set a place for your ancestors. Eat in silence, creating a space to tune into your intuition and your extrasensory abilities. Leave a portion of the meal outside for the afterwards. So, as I said, leave the food outside for spirits that are passing by, but the meal itself should be eaten in silence so that you can see if you can pick up on any communication, any feelings, anything that may be coming from the other side. So this is the time to be able to manifest that. Call out before you sit down to eat the meal. Do your ritual, open to them, invite them, and then sit down to the meal. Ask them to come and join you and see what you feel at that time. See what your abilities feels at that time, okay? And make sure that when you've finished and you've done it, that you thank them for being with you, and that you thank them for visiting you, and you know that they're welcome to leave when they feel to leave. And just remember to put something outside for the other spirits. Another one is setting up an altar to your ancestors. Set up an altar with black candles, apples, and a bowl of water. Light incense and whisper the names of ancestors. Reflect on what needs to be released and reborn. So, calling out to your ancestors, calling out to your loved ones, calling out to your elders, calling out to all of the energies associated with you. Some of these energies you may not be so familiar with, but they are still there. The whole point of this is that your ancestors are the ones that bring you the wisdom and the opening to everything, okay? They can help you through life's challenges and stuff. So call out to them and put things like apples and water and black candles. These are all symbolisms for communicating with the dead and with your loved ones. Light a special incense up that would be significant to sowing and to communication with spirits. So things like lavenders, sages, and things will be fine. And then just whisper out your loved ones' names. Or if you don't know some of the energies by name, just say, I call out to my ancestors, known and unknown, and call you forth to this feast. Okay. And then you're doing that. Okay. You're still calling out to them. And then give over what you're needing to get rid of, and give over what you're wanting to be reborn, what you're wanting to manifest. Reflect what your needs are to release what you do not need and does not serve you, and to be reborn in what you need and what you want to amplify and manifest. Okay, so that's really important. And ask your loved ones and your ancestors to help you to do that. That's why they are here as well, to help you. The next one is obviously divinization, which is the complete communication side of working with your loved ones, where the altar side is more your first starts is opening to them, welcoming them in, giving them the problems you don't want, and giving them the things that you do want. Then it's about communicating with them. Use the heightened spiritual energy of sowing for divinization. By then, you would have done your rituals, you would have had your meal, you would have called, you would have done several different things. So then you'll be ready to do your divinization. So use the heightened spiritual energy of sowing for divinization. Gaze into a reflective surface like a black mirror, a bowl of water, or a crystal ball to receive visions. See what those objects like the mirror, the water, and the ball, crystal ball, gives out to you. What do you see in it? When you think you're seeing something, what does it make you feel like? What do you feel like you're picking up on? Are you getting messages? Are you getting anything that can remotely connect you to the objects that you're connecting with? If so, write it down and always remember to do that, because it's so important to record everything that you experience and you go through, especially if you are a new and a beginner witch, somebody just coming into the craft. It's really important to understand your intuition and your connections with the other side. That is a really important thing to do. So use things like your mirrors, your water, your crystal balls, even just using yourself, okay, or using other tools like your pendulum, things like that. Get familiar with using that energy to connect with the spiritual energy. But just remember that when you're using them tools, don't just focus on what the tools are doing. Focus on what you sense, feel, you hear, and you see, taste, whatever. Because these all can be telltale signs of them communicating with you. And it's really important to understand that. There is another way. I have not done this, but there is one that says like fortune telling with apples. Peel an apple in one whole strip and throw it over your shoulder. The shape it forms is said to be the initial of your future spouse. Right, that's if you're wanting to look for a loved one, somebody to fall in love with, somebody to be happy. Apparently, if you like, you peel an apple peel without breaking it all the way around, and then you throw it over your shoulder. Okay, it's meant to reveal the initial of your loved one, but that you're going to fall in love with and get married or whatever. Yeah, that's just a little tip thing that and an old wife way. Um, 2 minutes, guys. I am nearly there. I'm having to keep like read through everything. So other spells and rituals for protection. Protection is really key in everyday life as witches and spiritual practitioners, whatever you like to call yourselves. It's really important that protection in your home, protection on you at all times should be performed. No matter what type of ritual, magic, or communication or connection you're doing, it is key and it is something that you need to be doing. So, some of the spells and rituals for protection is a door charm, is one thing that us witches love to do, is create a charm with a bell on it to hang on your door, normally at your front and your back doors. Chant lines like "Guard our home, bell on the door, leave evil spirit come no more" to ward off negativity and evil spirit. Okay, so creating a witch's bells is what I will call them. So you've got some bells and you might put feathers and you might put certain crystals that represent protection onto these bells, or you may just have simple a couple of different bells with maybe a couple of feathers, or you might tie a bit, couple of colourful string bits to whatever, and you hang them inside your house, but in front of your front door and in front of your back door. This keeps out negative energy and bad energy from entering your house. So when you're doing rituals and stuff as well, or maybe you've just got up one day and you're feeling a bit dodgy, go and smack your bells that are hanging in your doorways. It will bring that positive energy, and bells are really good at reflecting off negative energy and evil energy. And there's massive stories behind how powerful bells are, and it's even been said that at some points certain bells from churches and things have had to be removed due to the spiritual significance that bells have with bringing in good energy but repelling and removing negative energy. Another form that is really good is your protection bags. Okay, so just like getting your witches bells, now you can buy your witches bells, you can make your witches bells, somebody else might make you them and give them to you, that's fine as well. But your protection bags as well, you can buy them online, or you can make them on your own. I do think that when you make things yourself, it's far more powerful because it's your own energy and your own intent. So protection bags, getting a little string bag. It can be those cute little colourful bags that have got stars and moons on. It can just be a simple little black bag or a white bag. Normally these sort of colours would be for your protection, but again, everybody might have a colour that they see that is more protective to them. Okay, so go with what you feel. Okay, so get your protection bag, and then you would make the bag with herbs and oils and crystals that are essential for protection. You place them all into the bag, and you will, bless over them. You'll think about that and bring that intention of that protection, that energy coming to you, coming to your home, coming to your loved ones, coming to anywhere when you're going anywhere, that you're protected at all times. Keeping that energy in there. And then what you do is you tie it up, okay? And you will bags around your house. You can put one in your handbag and carry it on you. If you want to put one in your husband's pocket, you can put it in your husband or your spouse's pocket or your boyfriend's pocket. Um, like to keep your kids protected. You could put a bag up on the wall above, like their door frame, whatever. Like just so that you've got those elements around you. They're also really good for people that go out and do investigations and stuff like that as well. Carrying one in your pocket to keep that extra protection. But another really good way for rituals and spells is through your jewelry as well, guys. You've got so many different symbols that can be for protection that you can use. Do your research and study into different types of spiritual protection symbols that you can use in your craft. So pentagram and the pentacle are two that are really well known for protection. There are other signs and stuff as well, but I'm just giving you the two various and the most common ones. So you've got your pentagram and you've got your pentacle, but most people say the pentagram one, that's what they go by. Now that's a protection amulet. Okay, you've got certain crystals that you come across that are made for protection that you could use as well, and things like that. So carry crystals and stuff around you that are protective and remove and repel negative energy and keep you safe. You can also go around using jewelry, whether that's bracelets, necklaces, earrings, whatever. Like having something with a symbol that is reflected as protection energy is really good. All you would just simply have to do is just charge it under the moon, so charge it with your sage or your palo santo or sandalwood. Put in the intention energy into that tool for protection and for the positive energy and things, and your spell would be done. Just manifest and see that ball of white, gold or silver energy going into your crystals or into your necklace or into your protection bags or into your witch's charm belt. As I said, all these things can be bought online as well. You don't have to make them, but if you do make them, it'd be even better getting materials from the natural world and making it, or buying the pentagram and putting it on a necklace, but maybe decorating that necklace up, putting some of your own strings and maybe making holes into some of the crystals and placing that on your chain part, like just making it your own, and it brings in your own positive and good energy, and also charging it on your altar with energy that you've used for protection and good energy as well is really good to do. So that is the first section that I wanted to speak to you guys about. So I do hope that this information so far you have found interesting and it's helping you to understand that, and that it's gave you a little bit more opening to what it is and what you're supposed to be doing, guys. So that was the sewing and the history behind it, and some of the spells and rituals that we perform. But these rituals, remember guys, can be performed at any time of the year as well, but just on sewing we make it more extravagant. We've got all the beautiful decorations and colorful things up to do with sewing. We have got like little spooky bits out and skulls, and everybody decorates differently, but we do really like to make sewing a festival to remember. So we have lots of light and things like that. So just remember that it's a very special time of the year, and it's a year that us witches very much honor and respect. So we're now going to move on to the second part of this. So obviously with the sewing, energy and everything. Obviously, as the fiery colours of autumn sweeps across the land, the wheel of the year turns once more towards sowing, derived from the Gaelic word meaning summer's end. Sowing marks the transition into winter and the dark half of the year. Now, the dark half of the year does not mean negative, evil, or bad. The dark half of the year is where our once flourishing and growing and evergreen Mother Nature and Mother Earth has stopped doing their ways. As Mother Earth continues to bear this world and continues to keep everything here living, Mother Nature goes to sleep, but some of them describe it as dying and coming back, rebirth. Okay, so Mother Nature falls into her deep sleep for the winter months. So in the winter months, us witches and that will intend to want to slow down as well, relax, enjoy more of our nice warm homes and fireplaces if we've got them. And that time of the year is normally the time of year that we focus on other ways to do what we do as witches. So yes, we can still perform rituals and stuff. We have everything in our home. We will have things from over the year that we have collected or we have grown or we have come across. But it's our time where we sit and we reflect on the things that we have achieved and we reflect on the things that we don't want anymore. And we do rituals to rid the things we don't want and rituals to bring in and manifest what we do want. We celebrate obviously the harvest and we celebrate the new year and we celebrate seeing our ancestors and stuff, and that's what's really important about this time of the month and this time of the year. The dark half of the year is not evilness, it's that silence, that stillness. It's when Mother Nature falls to sleep. It's when everything that once was flourishing and growing has now gone to the grounds below, okay, ready to re-enter our world next year in the autumns and the nice times of the year. So Mother Nature is asleep. Brother Sun starts in his new transition on the other side, now working with the energies and connecting with us, and only every now and again maybe showing a little bit of his appearance. He has gone into that zone of calmness and rest as well, and that is what we do as witches at this time of year. We go into a resting sort of phase. Yes, we still do our rituals, we still do the things that we have to do, but we slow down. We're not so hands-on in the winter like we are in the summers and stuff, when we're out and we're hedge picking, and we're picking up things and we're going to places and we're having celebrations and we're doing all this sort of things. In the winter months, it slows down. Even though there are still certain celebrations, it slows down. It's more being at home, it's more being in our home energy, and being in our self home energy as well, being in us. Okay. And having that time to reflect on everything that we've done amazing in, and everything that we just don't need anymore. We've grown out of it, or it just doesn't fit for us anymore. This year is most definitely for that. And the long cold winter months are beneficial to us because they are our time of rest and they are our time of being thankful and looking forward to what gifts and bounties comes the following year. So for centuries it has been celebrated as a liminal time, the harvest's final feast, a night when the veil between the living and the dead is thin, and a season of reflection, release, and renewal begins. So we are going to explore the history, the symbols, and the rituals and recipes, and the highlights of what makes our sewing unique and magic. Okay, guys, so I'm going to give you some information on that. So the origins of sewing, known as Halloween as well. Sewing was one of the four great fire festivals of the ancient Celts, celebrated in Ireland, Scotland, and Wales, and also England. It marked the end of the harvest and the start of the dark half of the year, the time when all goes to sleep. It was both practical and spiritual. Sorry, lost myself again. Practical farmers slaughtered livestock to prevent meat, to and provide meat for winter. Feast, Feasted on the last crops and prepared for sacred sacredity. Okay, so this would be the time when like people would go off. They would kill certain livestock. They would bring their last of the harvest, like their herbs and potatoes, anything that was edible that they would grow on a farm or in a natural place. All of this would be brought in because if it was left outside, it would die in that time of the year. So everything would be brought in. Some would be slaughtered. Some would be kept for the following year if they're young, and the food like your crops and other things would be brought and would be put together and ready to be used for the cold months so that people could continue to survive. Okay, so that's the practical part of it, is the fact that it was a time to provide all the luxuries and the bounties that we got over the year in the olden days, and we still do it today, even in things we do in our life as well. Then the spiritual side is the night. uh, The night was liminal, when spirits could pass more easily between worlds. Ancestors were honored with offerings and fires were lit to protect communities. So it was all about protecting and repelling negative energy, welcoming in our family, our ancestors, our deities, our energies that guide and help us in everyday life, and remembering, honoring them. Um, so the next bit is when Christianity spread November the 1st. When Christianity spread, November the 1st become All Saints Day, All Hallows Day, with October the 31st as All Hallows Eve, late, later shortened to Halloween. Many sewing traditions, bonfires, costumes, and offerings blended into the Christian calendar and travelled with Irish and Scottish immigrants to America, where they evolved into today's Halloween. So, what are some of the things that we do? So, we honour our ancestors. One of Samhain's oldest and most secret customs in ancestor veneration. The Celts believed that spirits of the dead visited the living during this night. Ways to honour your ancestors when doing your rituals and to honour your old ancestral ways is set up a dumb supper, which is the silent supper that I've told you on the previous part that I've read. Set up a place for your departed loved ones with their favourite foods and some of the sewing traditions, and place it out for them to come and join you. And it's known as a dumb supper. Okay, so not dumb because they're dumb, but a dumb supper because you do not speak. It's a time for communication and connection and picking up on what you feel as you sit with them and eat. Okay. Another one is build your ancestor altars and put photos, mementos, or heirlooms, so things that are associated with them. So you might have like your grandmother or your grandfather's watch or a ring. You might have a doll. You might have an ornament, anything that represents your loved ones and stuff. Put them on there along with photos. Have a bit of paper with maybe their names and maybe their date of birth. If you don't know their date of birth, just their name. Okay. They will be able to connect with you, and just put that all on the altar as well. What you then do is you light candles in their honor. So black candles would normally be used for this, but you can put white on there as well for protection. But black candles would normally be a way of communicating with them. Another thing that I would say to you, putting things like amethyst and lavenders and things like that would be really good to put on your altars as like scents and stuff because they're a way of communicating and helping you to be awakened as well. So yeah, lighting your black candles, have a white one on there if you feel for your protection. This is just a way of honoring your ancestors and the spirits and just showing your appreciation for, you know, their visitation and stuff. Other things that you can do is visit grave sites or spend quiet time sharing their stories. So share stories about your loved ones, share stories of people that you didn't know, but there's like myths about. Share stories about them so that their energy and their spirit continues to live. Go to grave sites and clean them up, look after them and care for them. These are all ways that your spirit guides will appreciate, but so will the dead souls that are resting. So doing things like this can really show your appreciation and your love and honor to the spirits on Samhain. So life, death and renewal. Samhain embodies the eternal cycle of life, death and rebirth. The trees release their leaves, fields lie fallow, and the earth prepares for rest. This season invites us to reflect on the year that has passed. So, what have we achieved? What have we not achieved? What would you like to do better in? Reflecting on those things. What things are in your life that you've noticed are causing you problems and you don't want anymore? Reflect on all of those things and envision them in your head. Keep them in your head. Then, with those ones that you don't want, release them habits, release those burdens, release those things that do you no good. Okay. And with the other side of it, where you're reflecting about the things that you're doing, but you've not quite got to, but you're wanting to manifest more, then you would bring that into things that you're wanting. Okay. So you would put those sort of things in there. Maybe there's other things that you're wanting in life that you know is going to be beneficial to you. But I will say, always make sure that the things you ask for are things you really need, not silly things. They need to be respectful and honorable. Okay, it's not bad to ask for money, it's not bad to be helped with things like that, but just always remember to give back and always remember to not be too greedy. Okay, don't take more than you need to. Okay, and if you do, always remember to give back. That's all I'm going to say. So releasing habits and burdens that you no longer need and getting rid of them, and then set your intentions for transformation and manifestation, things that you want in life, things that are going to serve you and things that are going to give you what you need. Manifesting them, working on them, doing spell work on them, believing in the essence of what you're doing. As I said as well, with that, the intentions and the envisioning of those things. Do not envision yourself maybe getting it. Envision yourself getting that. That is happening. They're doing whatever you're asking for, and that is happening. That goes into the universe. That opens your energy, and that helps them to realize and see that, you know, you've made your intentions clear. It's really important to make your intentions clear. Sometimes things can go wrong, guys. Sewing is also a time for shadow work and for embracing the wisdom of endings. So it's a time to connect with your ancestors. It's a time to connect with your guides. It's a time to understand and learn about the wisdom of endings of life, endings of time and way. Remember that ending isn't always the ending of a life, but the ending of a situation, an outcome, or a scenario, or something that you've been facing. There are so many ways that can describe the ending. And obviously bringing in wisdom for things you want to continue to growing, wanting to bring the wisdom you've learned and educate others. Bringing these essence, this would be the perfect time to start manifesting what you're wanting to do to help you and to help others. Also, the shadow work. Any of you that are going through a difficult time, maybe over the year, you've had a trying time, you've had things happen to you, you've had pain, you've had grief, you've had illness. You could have had a divorce, or you could have had a breakup of a short breakup in a marriage or a relationship. You could have family that have not been well, that, you know, or you've lost someone, you know, things in your life that have been quite hard and have been quite trying, as well as remember maybe things of your past that still affect you as well. Shadow work will be the thing that will be really good for you to look into. Shadow work is about looking at your shadow self, looking at those things that we hide and bury deep within us and we try not to acknowledge. But what we don't realize that when we bury those things that torture and hurt us and affect us in life, that stops us from moving forward. That stops us from being our true self and who we're meant to be. So we need to be able to face our fears and our emotions and our troubles. Face them in the face. Say to them, okay, this happened. This cannot be changed. This no longer is good for me and I don't need it. I can move forward. I don't need this in my life anymore. And you would just ask for all of that energy to be removed. Shadow work is about bringing up all that is painful and hard to you, facing it and releasing it and laying it to rest or burying it. Okay. It doesn't necessarily mean forgiving them for everything they've done, but it means forgiving in the way that you can forgive yourself and move forward, and not forgive yourself in the way that you've done anything wrong, but forgive yourself for allowing them to hold you back and for the things and the actions that they've done to you, or whatever it was that happened to you happened, and just going, okay, it happened, I can't change it, and I'm over that, and moving forward. Shadow work really helps you to get to the core of your troubles and your problems. Yes, it can be painful, it can be really hard to face, but believe me, at the end of it, you will feel 10 times better doing it. And the sewing is a perfect time to be able to, ask out to energies to start helping you in your shadow work, or even putting some of those things over as a release as well, and just continuing that healing energy. These things will be really good for that. And as you do that, you'll learn your wisdom. And again, remember to always record everything that you're doing and you're experiencing. So, divinization and spell work. Because the veil is thin, sewing is one of the most powerful nights for divination. Ancient Celts bobbed for apples, read omens in fire and water, and sought visions in dreams. All of these things are really cool. Okay. Modern practices include tarot or oracle spreads, focus on release and renewal. So you could be focusing on, the things that you don't want and the things that you do want. And you can use your oracles and your tarot cards to get messages from your ancestors to see if they agree with what you're doing, or if they give you any advice or anything to go forward. Okay. Another way is scrying, which is using a black mirror, or you can use water or flames or a crystal ball, whatever, like scrying, to see if you get anything. What do you feel? What do you sense? What do you hear when you have these visions as well? Remember that it's not all just about looking in it. It's what you pick up on the outside too. You can also bring pendulum works into that. So pendulums and dowsing rods are another way for guidance and communicating with the spirits. It's an easy way to get your yes, no questions and maybe questions and things like that. Dream journaling, yes, with herbs like mugwort or rosemary. Dream journaling. So using your rosemary and your mugwort, you can put that into a bag with maybe a crystal that is good for opening for dreams. Put it under your pillow. Put it in bed. Speak out clearly that you're wishing to have a dream on whatever you're wishing to have a dream on, to do with like maybe your wisdom, your growth in the craft. It may be that you're needing, vision into something that you're facing and you need to sort it out. Ask them to do that. And then when you do and you wake up, if you do remember, or even if you only remember bits, write everything down, guys, because there will always be a message in there in the end. It may take time to come out, may hit you straight away. Some of the traditional symbols of sewing are bonfires for purification, protection, and community. So community as in people, or community as in your dead and people that you're communicating with, okay? Jack-o'-lanterns originally carved from turnips to ward off spirits. Now pumpkins glow with protective faces, okay? So, yeah, carving out your pumpkins, carving out your turnips if you still do that, and placing them outside, not only to invite children to come and get the beautiful gifts and luxuries you got, but to also keep those negative energies away. Remember the old traditions and the ones that actually work. Costumes and masks worn to confuse or appease wandering spirits. Now, there is a big controversy that when you wear your masks and your costumes, it can ward confusion. If you're doing a spiritual way, obviously if you're kids and stuff and you're out playing, it's not confusing, you're just wanting to look spooky. But in the olden days, if at certain this time of year, people would wear certain clothing that would confuse other, spirits that they didn't want to communicate with them, but they also used it to appease the ones that were wandering and lost and things like that, and they wouldn't feel so alone and things like that. So yeah, costume and masks are really important in Halloween, not just because of trick or treat, but it's been a century and ancient way to be, okay, for spiritual significance, as I have briefly spoke about on here. Obviously the other things are offerings of food and drink. You can leave them at doorways, you can leave them on your altars, you can take food with you if you're going to bonfires and things like that. They will normally tell you to bring foods and bring certain feasting food that you would have on Samhain as well. So yeah, there's always going to be ways to be able to put food out for your ancestors and for wandering spirits and so on. And harvest feast, sharing seasonal abundance with both the living and the dead. So yes, sharing your food with the dead, sharing your gifts and your boundaries that you've got with them as well. And this doesn't have to just be food, it could be anything in life. And doing the same for those that are living as well. So if you're a trader and you work on farming and you've got loads of certain things, they come around and they give you something, you can give something to them. Sharing is key on sowing. It's about sharing with the dead, but it's also about sharing with the living, even if it means that there's a massive group of you going to a sowing witchy festival, okay, and you're going to have a seasonal celebration where there's going to be fires and there's going to be dancing, people with fire dancing. This is what normally happens at these festivals. That it's absolutely amazing. I actually had it happen at Robin Hood Festival once when I went, but and they're dancing around with fire, they sing, they all bring different types of food and they share it with each other. This is what they're on about. But when you're doing that, you can place those plates on the floor next to you, a little plate with you, or you can bring a little box or a tub with you, so you can put some of that food into there and invite your loved ones to come and join the celebration as well. It doesn't just have to be at home. If you're somebody that goes out with other people and does things, then you can still do it. Just take something for you to put their food into. You can still do everything the way you do it at home. Just do it how it feels right to you. So there's always been quite a lot of confusion over how you say sowing. So you've got sowing, sowing, so you've got sow in, win, Vin. So there's quite a few. And when I first started out years and years ago, and I still do it every now and again as now, Samhain. I say Samhain as well, because when you look at it, it's Sam Hayen. So it's because I'm dyslexic, when I first started out years ago, I would call it Samhain. But as I've gone through and I have become more established in my craft, which has been years and years and years now, I know it's sowing. But you will still hear me say it like that sometimes. It's just something that's stuck. And again, like I said in the videos with the gods and goddesses that are done on Kananos and on Hecate, that they will understand what you're saying. You say it how you feels right and what feels meaningful to you. But yeah, sowing is how it would be illustrated. So the next thing that I think is really important, just to understand some of the deities that are associated with sowing, okay? So gods, goddesses that you would be attributed with and maybe work with to do with sowing. So you've got Cheridwen, which is Welsh. She's the keeper of the cauldron and of transformation. Then you've got Hecate, which is my goddess, and she's absolutely amazing. And I am starting to get a little pulling towards Cheridwen as well, but Hecate has been my long-term and main goddess, along with Bridget and Freya. But she is the guardian of the crossroads and the liminal space, which is a perfect time for Halloween for sowing. Okay, so Hecate, and she is Greek. Okay, then you've got the Morrigan, which is Irish, and she is the triple goddess of fate, sovereignty, and death. Then you've got Persephone. I'm sorry if I've said her name wrong, but again, like I said, I'm dyslexic. She is Greek, and she was the queen of the underworld, embodying cycles of descendant and rebirth. Okay, so that's that one. And Kellich, which is Celtic, the veiled one and goddess of winter wisdom. Then you've got gods. So they were the goddesses. So the gods are Cananos, he's Celtic, he's the horned god of fertility and cycles, so very much prominent in the sowing. You've got Odin, which is Norse. He's the seeker of wisdom, magic, and spiritual journeys. So perfect because of the divinization and things like that, and wisdom. Then you've got the Dogda, which is Irish. He's the father god of abundance and harvest. And then you've got Pluto, who is Roman and is the lord of the underworld. And you've got Hades, which is Greek, and he is the keeper of the realm of the dead. Okay, so these are some of the deities that you can work with and call out, and I've gave you their names and what they work with. So what sort of readings can we do with our tarots for sowing? So you have death readings, so transformation, endings, and rebirth. So these would be readings into, things that are going to come to an end for you. Is this could be scenario situations, something that's really difficult and painful, anything that's about not needing it anymore. This would be the sort of reading you'd get. You've got the Wheel of Fortune, the turning cycles of fate. You've got High Priestess, which is intrusion and the unseen. Right, so Death card is transformation, ending, and rebirth. The Wheel of Fortune for the tarots and for sowing is the turning of the cycles of fate. The High Priestess is intrusion and unseen. The Hermit is inner wisdom and solitude. And the Five of Cups is release and emotional healing. Building your sowing altar. So I really think it's important that people need to understand that you do not have to have a really massive, extravagant altar like myself. It's took me years to get the stuff that I've got on my altar, and it's took a lot of work and dedication and pride in what I've done and things that I've chose because I've been given that premonition to buy something for myself. And I do like my altars to look beautiful, and I do work on a daily basis showing my honor, respect, and connecting with spirits. So my altars are not simply something I put away and take out when I feel like. My altars are around 24 hours, 7 days a week, all year round. And all I do is just spontaneously change them to each season. But I am a really big believer, and I very much follow the practice where my work is every day. So I do have traits of the hedge witch, which is going to be the witch we're going to be talking about this in this series as well after this. So it's all about, I've always had my own practice, my own way that I like to do things. And I have always loved having my altars out and having to show my love and dedication on a daily basis. But some of you will not want to do that. But when you're doing your seasons and when you're celebrating the Sabbaths and sowing, obviously on this one, your altars you will need are candles. So black for purification, orange for fire and harvest, and purple for spirit work, okay, connecting to the spirits. Then you've got pumpkins and gourds, symbols of abundance and transformation. You can put them onto your altar. And sister mementos, so photos, heirlooms, or offerings. So these could be gifts, these can be things that you were given to do with them, anything like that. Photos, writing down their names and the date of birth if you can, but if you can't get the dates of birth, just the names. Crystals that are associated to it would be obsidian, smoky quartz, and amethyst. Autumn leaves and flowers are magical and amazing elements to, add on to your altars, along with marigolds and chrysanthemums. Okay, so these are all really good things to put onto your altars for sowing. Some of the divination tools are tarots, runes, and scry mirrors, and crystal balls as well. Some of the offerings that you can put onto your altars in dedication to your spirits and energies you work with are offerings of like bread, cider, nuts, or a simple glass of water. And if you want to place any of the foods that you have bought for that celebration on there as well, you are more than welcome to. So some of the flowers of Samhain are marigolds, which is guide and honor spirits. You've got chrysanthemums, which is the symbolizes death and rebirth. Black-eyed Susan, which reflects harvest and fading light. Dahlias, which is resilience and transformation. Cosmos is spiritual connection across the veil, and sunflowers for gratitude and volatility. Some of the incense that you could use in your secret spaces to do with your rituals and things like that are frankincense for purification and spirit connection, myrrh for grounding and transformation, copal for ancestral communication, patchouli for early earthly protection, cedar for cleansing strength, and sage for traditional clearing herbs, so cleansing your homes and things like that, blessing it. So some of the ways to celebrate the Samhain: create an ancestral altar and dumb supper. Hold a bonfire or fire ritual to release the old. Practice tarot scrying or dream divination. Dressed in costumes and masks to embrace the liminal. Prepare a harvest feast with seasonal foods and favourites of your ancestors. Carve out jack-o'-lanterns on either your pumpkins, gourds, if you still do it, or ever you wish to do that. And take a nature walk and honour the seasons change. That's another one that's really good. On Samhain, when, it's cold, but not cold that you can't walk. When it's just between different seasons and it's at that beautiful and that colouring and flowering moment, that would be a perfect time for you to take a walk with nature, to connect with nature, to connect with nature's spirits, to connect with the energy, to give your honour, your love and respect to it for all of the things that is given to you, and it's gave you in bounty and in gift. Okay, so that would be really good. So obviously your bonfire rituals, or your rituals that you do at home with your candles for release, you can also do that for manifestation and bringing things into your life as well. Tarot cards, scry and dream divination. You can also use your pendulums, you can use your crystal balls. It's whatever feels right to you as well. Obviously always dressing up and stuff is really brilliant, and it really does connect with the energy of what we're on about. And having and preparing a beautiful feast and a harvest to share with the living and to share with the dead and to show your honor and respect is most definitely really cool. Always remember to carve your candles and carve candles. Well, yeah, you can carve your candles and put your intentions on your candles, but what I meant is carve your pumpkins, or if you still do gourds and things like that, then that's fine. But carve them and put your candle in there, because yes, if you're wanting children to come and do trick or treat at your house, they normally won't knock your door if you don't have a pumpkin or something outside of it. So make sure you've got that out there for that reason. But the big reason is because it does offer protection to your home. And it also just reminds those wandering good spirits out there that there is somebody that is aware of them, and that our paths may meet one day. I know that too well. So next, I'm going to talk to you about some simple sewing rituals that I want to talk to you about and get into, but I think that's really important to do. And I think it's really cool. And it's just going to help you to have a little set of understanding and what to expect. Obviously, for you guys that are new beginners to this, obviously, all of the stuff that I'm talking to you about in any of these videos, you do need to make sure you research, study. I'm giving you the simple basis layout of everything, okay? So you can start that practice safely. You need to continue that education and that study. That's why it's really important to make sure you've got your pens and your papers, and that you are recording and writing everything down that you are learning. It is key. And I will be back in 2 minutes. Hello and welcome back. So I just needed to have a quick talk toilet break, so I hope you guys got to do the same. So before I took the little quick break, I just want to talk to you now and give you some information on some simple sewing rituals that you could perform. So things that you should do to get yourself prepared for sewing, and so that you're in that place and ready to perform the things that you're wanting to perform. So first, number one is cleanse your space with smoke or incense to cleanse and to remove and repel all negative or unwanted energy that you're not needing. Light black and white candles to represent release and renewal. Okay. Call out to your ancestors, speak their names, or meditate on their presence. So how they looked, how they would feel when they were around you, things like that. Perform divination or journaling for insight. So using different tools such as your tarots, scrying mirrors, your crystal balls, and journaling. Journaling what you experience, what you go through, and any insight that you're given from your ancestors and stuff like that. It's a time for you to write down anything that you're ready to release and not want in your life anymore, things that don't serve you, things that are no good for you. And what you do is you burn it, whether that's in a bonfire, in a cauldron, or a fireproof dish. Whatever you feel to do, just make sure that it's safe. And the way to do it is to burn it. Number 6 is leave any offerings of food, drink, or water for your ancestors, spirits, and other energies that you work with. And always remember to close all that you do in gratitude, and always remember to ground yourself and protect yourself as well. Okay, these are all really important things to do to keep you safe. So offering food and drink and water are ways of just showing your honor and respect to the energies and stuff like that. Burning things are a way to release. You can also do it to envision and bring things in. Burning it also brings and intentions and things like that as well. So doing that sort of thing is really, really good. And I've gone for the offerings of foods and things like that. And always remember to just close your rituals in gratitude. So always remember to say thank you and to thank your energies, your ancestors, and all that have helped you. And any energies you may have called up for the ritual that evening. And just always remember that before and after, to ground, protect, and cleanse yourself and your space to make sure that no residual energy is left. Okay, it's always key and important to keep yourself safe at all times through ritual. Never, no matter what time of the day or year it is, it's key all through your practice. So some of the foods that you can use in sewing: apples for divination and immortality, pumpkins and squash for abundance, root vegetables for grounding, grains for sustain and life cycles, nuts for wisdom and strength, meat from the seasonal coal, and mulled cider and spice drinks for warmth. So meat, so coming from animals and coming from those that have looked after them all year round, and then have like obviously had them killed to be able to bring food and to be able to feed the world and stuff like that. So always remember as well, when you're doing that, when you're eating your meats and you're eating your foods, always remember and put across how grateful and thankful you are to those energies and to the things that they give you. Okay, especially animals. They are animals, they do have spirits and souls. So thanking the animal for providing you with foods and meats and things. A lot of us witches don't eat meat, but I am one that does. But I always show my dedication and my loyalty to them. I never sacrifice anything. I never kill anything. I don't believe in that sort of stuff. But I do eat meat, and I always give thanks to the spirit, and I appreciate and show my honor to the spirit of the animal that's it gave itself to do that. So some of the recipes that you can go for when wanting to do foods for the sewing are pumpkin soups, a creamy blend of pumpkin, onion, garlic, and both finished with coconut milk or cream, garnished with herbs. Absolutely lovely. Spiced apple cider. Simmer the cider with cinnamon, cloves, and star anise and orange slices. Sweeten with honey and serve it hot for its best way. Roasted root vegetables, so vegetables such as carrots, parsnips, potatoes, and beets, roasted with olive oil, garlic, and rosemary until golden and tender and yummy, obviously. So, a few questions that are asked about the sewing. Is sewing the same as Halloween? No, though modern Halloween evolves from sewing. Sewing is a pagan festival, but also now see more than just a pagan festival. It is a festival of all types of witches and different practices. So, but it did originally start from pagan festivals rooted in Celtic tradition and focused on ancestors, divinization, and seasonal transitions. Okay, so that is where it originated from. So, no, it is not connected to Halloween, but when Halloween was brought forward as a holiday, it was decided to be done on the same time as our sewing that witches celebrate, so that you guys know that out there. Is sewing Celtic or Gaelic? Sewing originates from Gaelic Celtic calendars and was celebrated in Ireland, Scotland, and the Isle of Man, and all other Celtic countries as well, including England. So what sort of like offerings would be appropriate to give? Apples, bread, milk, cider, nut, or food, or food loved by your ancestors and that are traditional. Okay, so all of their favorite foods and stuff like that, but you can still put things in that are traditional to the festival as well. So apples, breads, milk, ciders, nuts, honeys. People make breads, they make cakes, they make all sorts of different things, pumpkin pies, all things that are, rooted in that. I'm only giving you some of the most, known bits that would be used in that. If you look online or you look in books, if you buy witchy books, they will tell you loads of different things you can get. Can beginners celebrate sewing? I've had people come up and say that. Absolutely. A simple candle light, ancestor altar, or a seasonal meal honorous to the spirits of the Sabbats. So you don't have to you don't even have to do that as a beginner. If you're not somebody that's really extravagant and you don't like to do massive big things and big rituals and stuff like that, you don't have to. You can just do a simple opening speech and script to your loved ones and to your ancestors, inviting them in, cook them the meal, and just do something simple like putting a pentagram and putting a white and a black candle on your altar with the right crystals, and just having a couple of your loved ones' pictures on that is more than enough. Okay, you do not have to be extravagant and do loads of different rituals and castings like I'm explaining in this. I'm just giving you, the alternative of what some of us witches are known to do. I am one. I do like to do my rituals and things like that, but not everybody does. Some of them just want to be personal, and this is personal to me. I do it at home. I don't share it with anyone else, but some people just like to be at home and just do simple and easy, and that's what I do. Even though my rituals look extravagant, they are pretty simple when I've put them together, sort of in wording and all that. I like it just to be simple and to the point. So do not worry. There is not a right or wrong way to do your magic. Just remember to be honourable, respectful, and always willing to be open to learning. Okay, and then obviously always remember that you've got an opening blessing, but also remember that you've always got a closing blessing as well. Sewing is both an ending and a beginning, a night to honour the dead, release the past, and step boldly into the transformation of the future. As you zip cider and light candles or whisper to the veil, may you find wisdom in the shadows, love in remembrance, and magic in the turning of the wheel. So always give your love, your gratitude, your honour, and your respect out to all of them when you have finished your feasts, your rituals, and everything has come to the end and the sewing evening is done. Always show your dedication, your love to all of your energies you work with, to your loved ones, and to the world as well. Mother Nature, Mother Earth, and things like that. Just show your gratitude, and also thank the people in the world that go to work every day and bring us harvests and stuff, or grow things so that we can do our practices. Remember to just thank everybody and be very, very, very grateful for that. And just remember that as you zip that cider or those molded wines, or you light those candles of white and black, or you even whisper to your ancestors or spirits and energies you connect with and work with. Remember that I hope that you do find wisdom in the shadows that you walk, that you will love in the remembrance of who you used to be in your soul, the ancestral energy that is in you and linking you to come back, and in the magic and in the turning of the wheel, the turning of the year, the turning of the world. So that is that part done, and I hope that that's helped you to get some more understanding of sewing, giving you a little bit more information on things that you may be needing in it and that are important. So I've got my last part of the sewing one, and this one is more just like important details, things that you can use, color coordinations and things like that, guys. So here we go. Just give me 2 seconds. Hello and welcome back, my angels, and welcome to part 3. So on this one, we're going to be talking about sewing, about the symbols and the different tools and different things that you can use, such as foods and herbs and crystals and things like that, that you can use as a witch that will be symbolized and connected to your sewing and to rituals and things that you may do. I hope you're also enjoying the music that you're hearing in the background. This is all sewing music, music that I absolutely love. So let's get to the last part. So this is the last part, then you'll see my face online for a few minutes and then we will end. So let's start this bit. So symbolic symbols, colours associated with the sewing to do with us witches. Okay, so what we use and things like that. So key symbols associated with witches during sowing often include items representing the harvest, the veil between worlds, ancestor veneration, and protection during the darkest part of the year. The colours used reflect these themes of death, rebirth, and the changing of seasons. Black symbolises death, darkness, and the end of the yearly cycle. It also represents the spirit world and the mysteries of the universe. Orange represents the final harvest, bonfires, and the vitality of life that persists even as winter approaches. Purple is associated with wisdom, insight, divinization, and the other worlds, meaning the spiritual realms and other worlds that we connect with energy. White can symbolize ghosts and spirits, as well as the balance between life and death. A white candle can be lit to guide ancestral spirits to us and back home too, of the harvest, such as dried leaves and the acorns. So some of the symbols and objects that are used for sewing is the besom, witch's broom, used ritually to sweep away old, stagnant energy and make room for new. It presents cleansing and purification. So what you do with these brooms, if you've got a witch's broom, which is known as a besom, you get the broom, you do not put it directly on the floor, you do it a couple of inches off the floor and you sweep as you would going around your house, and you sweep away and you intention and you visualize all of the negative, all of the unwanted energy in a black or a grey colour in the home, to removing from your home, moving out of your home. And you see this white, gold or silver light replacing that energy, bringing that positive and good energy into your home. Okay, when doing this as well, it represents the cleansing and purification. So thinking of cleansing it, removing all the negative energy, and thinking of purification, thinking of positive and good things to put into your home, good energy that you want to put into your home, into your families, is really, really important. And the broom is a perfect way to do that. Just remember that when you are doing any of these sort of things, especially if you're cleansing to stuff, just make sure that you do open a window or a door to release the energy. Another tool is the cauldron. The cauldron is a symbol of rebirth, transformation, and the feminine divine. The cauldron is used for brews and as a centerpiece for rituals. So you can do all your burnings, all your spells, all your ritual notes and things that you've wrote in there, as well as using your intention and your envision of the things you're wanting to release and the things you're wanting to bring in. Okay. And what we mean by the divine, feminine, divine, the the cauldron is represented as the goddess's womb, okay, Mother Earth's womb, okay. So she is what mothers and births all things, okay. So the cauldron does that very thing. As I've said several times, the ash is the astral altar, which is your ancestor altar, a secret space set up to honor deceased loved ones and spirit. It is often decorated with photos, mementos, apples, pomegranate, and candles. Pomegranate is another one that is really, really important, and it does associate with Persephone's persistence of eating pomegranates, which bound her to the depths of hell, okay, to the underworld. She was put to the underworld for the dark months, and she is upon the earth on the happy and warm months, okay. So she's between both worlds. She walks between, and she is queen because she obviously married Hermes, the god that took her down there, and things like that. So pomegranate is a very spiritual and secret significance when it comes to the sowing and the representation to Persephone. And this is also including Hecate, because Hecate went to protect and to bring Persephone back to her mother. Okay, so Demeter. So yeah, all of these are really cool. Mementos and photos. So things to do with your loved ones, things that they had that you might have been handed, photos of them, writing down their names and their dates of birth. If you can't get the dates of birth, just the names is fine. So all of those sort of things on your astral altars, along with the like seasonal decorations for the season. Any other things you feel to put on there that are associated, pine cones, things like that are really good too. The next is obviously, as I said again, the jack-o'-lantern, originally carved from turnips or beets, is a Celtic tradition to ward off malevolent spirits. The practice now primarily uses pumpkins. So yeah, pumpkins now, but if you're still old-fashioned and you want to use your gourds and uh, your turnips and things like that, go ahead with it. Um, Really good time. As I said, as well as it inviting children and children knowing that your door is open to get gifts, it is also that time for, you know, keeping away the negative and the bad energy, but also just showing those good wandering spirits that are around, you know, that they are noticed and they are seen. And it's also a sign that there is food and things left out there for them as well to be able to take on their travels. Some of the most important things to use in the rituals as well is obviously, and in sewing, is your bonfires and your candles. For a lot of sewing is a fire festival, so there is a lot of fire left used in it, whether that is bonfires or it's candles or however you used to choose to use the fire aspect. Just make sure that you do it safely, and these are normally done as ceremonial files, and candlelit are essential to the sewing. They offer protection, guide spirits, and represent the fading light of the year. So, as all of the world in the darkness starts to sleep, as Mother Nature and Brother Sun goes to sleep, the Sun God, things like that, you know, it's a representation of death ready for them to rebirth in the following warm months. Okay, so everything is silent, everything is still, and it's that time that when you light these fires, it brings that protection. It brings that protection for those dark months. It brings the protection over the things and the bounties and the gifts that we have. It also helps to guide our loved ones and other spirits to us and back home. And it also represents the fading of light of the years. So where the light once shone and everything was in growth, now everything comes to death. Everything comes to peace and rest. So that is what the bonfires and the candles represent. Remember to always use quite a few. Make sure that you've got big candles and you've got enough light making, because it is a fire festival. You need to have lots of light. Other symbols are your pentacles and your pentagrams, which represent the five elements, which is earth, air, fire, water, and spirit. A powerful symbol of protection in Wiccan and pagan and witch traditions. Okay, really good, really important to have around you, or keep that safety and that protection around you at all times. But it also calls in on the elements and the energies that are also to be honored for all that they give you over the year. Scythe, a tool representing the final harvest and the cycle of life, death, and rebirth. The Bowen knot is a Helladic knot used as a protective symbol, often placed on doors to ward off evil spirits. So yeah, anything that's protection wise, not wise, that are used for protection and cleansing, putting them above your doors just keeps away negative and stagnant and unwanted energies, and energies of bad spirit as well. And it just keeps you, your home, and your loved ones safe. Okay, so they are some of the tools that you can use. Some of the herbs that are used and associated with sowing is mugwort, which is associated with prophetic dreams and physic abilities, which are heightened during sowing. So using mugwort will really help you if you are physic and you have abilities. They will help you if you are somebody that has dreams and you get visions and ways through dreams. Mugwort will help you to be able to work and to open more. And obviously on sowing, the veil is thin, and the power and the energy of magic is at its most highest. It's the most powerfulest time of the year. So, you know, definitely put your mugwort out to help to get those ways and connections that you're wanting to be guided the right way that you're wanting to go to. Another one is sage and rosemary, which are used for cleansing, protection, and remembrance of ancestors. So using it to cleanse your home, for protection in your home, for cleansing and protecting yourself over your rituals and things like that. And it's also two herbs that are used for remembrance of your ancestors, showing your love, your honor, and your dedication to your ancestors and to the spirits on the other side. So putting sage and rosemary is something they very much appreciate. Then you've got hawthorn, alder, and yew, which are trees that are sacred to the sowing festival. Okay, hawthorn is linked to witches' brooms, while yew and alder are associated with death and rebirth. So obviously the hawthorn is linked to witches' brooms. So it is a material of wood that is used a lot in a lot of the tools that witches have made, and especially in their brooms. It's a very powerful and significant wood with a lot of physical and natural energy in it, and the energy of the elements, most definitely. Just as the yew and the elder does, but the yew and the elder associate the death and rebirth. So the death of things that are no longer serving, the death of things that have been used and now cannot grow anymore and go to rest, go to sleep, ready to be able to flourish and to grow again when our sun god decides to return, and when our mother nature decides to re-enter our society and our world. And rebirth, so that will be the rebirth. So the god, the sun god, and mother earth, you know, mother nature, reopening, re-evolving, regrowing, and re-bringing new boundaries and bounties and gifts to us for the following year. So yes, most definitely. So they are three trees that are really important and connected to sowing for very important reasons. Some of the animals that are associated with sowing are black cats, believed to be familiars of witches and guardians of the spirit realm. So they bring messages, and bring wisdom, and they bring knowledge from the spiritual realm. And it's also a form that some of our loved ones can take to look over us and to keep us safe. They are also animals that are very much associated with witches, and a lot of witches have cats because of their spiritual connection, and because they are just truly magnificent animals, and they have just got so many abilities and ways about them that really help to amplify a witch's way of living and being. Then you've got your crows and your ravens, which are symbols of wisdom, prophecy, and the connection to the spirit world. Again, like cats, crows and ravens are spiritual messengers of the spirits and loved ones on the other side. They bring wisdom, they bring signs, they bring messages, they bring prophecy from the other side. And sometimes loved ones again can take forms in birds. Robins and stuff are really good as well. There's so many different animals that they can take association to. Another animal is the owl. a nocturnal creature representing wisdom and guidance through the darkness. So this creature is really, really important for Samhain. Samhain is the dark months, okay? It is the cold months. And this bird is a bird of wisdom, bringing wisdom from the spiritual realms, bringing wisdom from the secret spaces and places. And just because of its connection to the natural world, it has much wisdom about the natural world. It's also the guidance through darkness. So any dark spots, any dark times, anything hard or painful, or anything that you're going through, you can call upon an owl, as well as your energies and deities that can help you through darkness, Hecate being one of them. So yeah, an owl is a really significant one. Again, it's a spiritual animal as well, a messenger for the spirits, and it can also be an animal that is took form of from the spirits as well, to be able to look over us. Then you've got the spider, considered to be a weaver of fate, connecting the worlds of the living and the dead. So the spider is a really, really symbolic symbol in sewing. The spider represents its ability and its talent that it has in weaving. And when it weaves and it brings that beautiful netted web out, it's entwining the living and the dead world together, representing our connection and our oneness, because we are all connected and we are all one. We all come to this world at one point and we all leave it and go to where they are at this time. So the spider very much represents that, represents the connecting of the world of the living and the dead, and us being together and being in oneness. Okay, so that's what the spider represents. So they are the animals. We're now going to be moving on to part 2 and the history that comes from the ancient Celts festivals of sowing and a harvest and new year celebration, where the veil between the living and the spirit world was believed to be thin. People honoured ancestors, appeased or warded off spirits, and performed divinization rituals, which has become associated with the holiday due to these pagan and witch roots, and later developed into folklore and Halloween traditions, which often include the uses of masks, costumes, bonfire, and divinatory practices. So some of the ancient Celtic traditions I'm going to read to you in a minute, but yeah, it is very much about that. It is, you know, coming into this practice, it's really important to understand the fact that how everything connects. So the Samhain is a Celtic festival that did start in a pagan practice, but has gone later over to other witch practices as well. There are many different ones. Um, it is the celebration of the new year and of the last harvest, and it's the time when the veil between the living and the dead are at its most finished, and we come into communication. Okay, so it's that time where people will honor their ancestors. They will appease and or remove spirits that are not needed. They perform rituals and spells to do with divinization, which is communicating and connecting with the dead. We did become associated with the holiday due to pagan roots, and the developments that come later in life from folklore also brought the traditions of the Halloween as well. So, you know, costumes, bonfires, masks, and divinization practices and things like that are something that we celebrate very much in the sewing. And all of these factors hold spiritual significance, which is really important to understand and to know. So ancient Celtic traditions. So what did some of us Celtic witches and do, and what are their beliefs? So honoring ancestors, families would welcome the spirits of their ancestors, setting a place for them at the dinner table, or leaving food and drink as offerings. This can be done at the front door. It can be left on your altar table. It can be on a table with you, well, where you're sitting, whatever you feel. Okay, just put the offerings out for them and remember to call out to them and invite them in. Another tradition they would do would be warding off evil spirits to protect against mischievous and harmful spirits, people would wear costumes and masks to disguise themselves and to confuse the dark energies, so that they would remove and think that there's other energy and spirit occupying that place. So this was a tradition that was believed by the Celts as well. Another one again is the bonfire. It might seem like I'm repeating some of this stuff, but there are other bits of information in these. Everything is wrote differently for different reasons. So bonfires, massive bonfires were lit, and people would extinguish their hearth fires and then relight them from the communal flame. The bones of the feast were often cast into the bonfire, which is where the name bone fire comes from. So yes, they would put like the bones of the food and things that they've done, throwing it back into the fire. Also remembering to pay homage to that animal and the animal spirit of that place, bringing it back into the universe and bringing it back in so it can come as something else or something better. And just to show the appreciation to the spirit and the energy as well. So that was something that was most definitely used quite a lot, and that is where bonfire comes from. Is that, and you know, it is a time that you light your fires so you can extinguish the hearth. Okay, so protecting your homes, protecting your secret places, then putting them out and then relighting them with the communal flame, which is the flame of the power and the flame of the sowing. Okay. And you know, if you want to throw food bones into the fire, you can do that, but that is completely up to you. But always just remember to stay in a positive mind and be thankful, and always give the thanks to especially the animals that give themselves for the food and that. So yeah, say thanks for all things. Divinization. The festival was a time for fortune telling, often using apples and nuts to predict the future. So yeah, a lot of people in the olden days would have used apples, nuts, and they would have used different sorts of tools to what we do. But in today's practices and stuff like that, some of us may still use those sort of forms and ways, like shapes and things that they may do may represent something. But a lot of us are more the tarot and the crystal balls, scrying mirrors, ourselves if we're gifted and we're open, and using things like your dowsing rods and pendulums, tools that you communicate, spirit boxes, even so sometimes, so anything like that, it's the time and practice has changed slightly. Then again, as I had explained earlier, the dumb supper, which is the silent meal, which is held for your families and for the spirits, and you put out your ancestors and your family's favorite foods, as well as some of the foods that you would make for sowing, and you would invite them to come and celebrate and be with you, and you'll be able to spend that time with your loved ones. You would do this meal in silence so that you can see what you feel, hear, sense, or pick up. Write everything down. Remember, pens and papers are vital in all aspects. um, so yeah, doing those and just connecting with them and things like that, and just remember to always leave a little offering outside for the passing spirits so that they know that they are being thinked of. So then it comes to the medieval and the later developments of the craft, and how sewing was celebrated. So obviously jack-o'-lanterns, as I said, were something that is very traditional. So early versions of what would become jack-o'-lanterns appeared in the Middle Ages, carved from turnips or other root vegetables to hold burning coals or candles. Or obviously in them days they didn't have candles a lot, so it would be coals. That face it, the faces were carved to scare away spirits. So you would make scary faces in them so that the spirits would become scared and wouldn't come near your home. And the light would just represent and show the face, and it would make spirits not want to come near your house, apparently. Negative ones, definitely, anyway. So then later in life, obviously, it's turned. Some people may still use the, turnips and other root vegetables, but a lot of us now use pumpkins, which does the same thing, cutting those faces and putting candles in there and bringing protection around the house and scaring away those spirits that are not needed. So again, Costume traditions. Over time, traditions of going door to door in costume to perform for food become more common. This is a practice that continued in the 19th century and the 20th century and is now a key part of modern Halloween. Yep. And it's always been celebrated like that. And again, it's all for a spiritual significance and importance as well. Then the witch connection. The association of witches with Halloween grew over time through folklore stories and the later hysteria of events like the Salem witches trials. As as Christianity spread, it attempted to co-opt pagans and witch festivals like Samhain, leading it to eventually transform into a Christian holiday and later a secular holiday. So it once was a private celebration that was celebrated by many spiritual practitioners, but when Christianity came in, they made a lot of changes and adaptations. They tried to make some of these things that we do out to be evil and stuff. And some of these traditions they nicked and made into our known holidays of today. And so we all celebrate it, but we celebrate it in different ways. But their ways, they forget the traditional way. So yeah, it's really, really cool to be able to learn you guys about that. So, our modern sowing traditions today, many modern pagans and witches still celebrate sowing as a spiritual festival to honour ancestors and the changing of the seasons, while incorporating some of the ancient traditions into their own modern practices. Yes, we very much want to bring our old and our ancient rituals and workings into this. The workings of our ancestors is all about remembering all of them and remembering their importance and significance in this world. And it's really important to keep that old way alive. It's who we are, and it's why we have the things that we have. And it's important to remember that it hits so deep within the soul. And when you're a true witch and when you truly work, honor, and admire all that you work with, these seasons touch you in a way that you can't explain. You just feel connected. You feel like you belong. So some sewing witches for witches often focus on honouring ancestors released in the past and divinization. Key practices include creating sewing altars with harvest foods and photos, conducting a dumb supper to eat in silence with spirits, and perform fire rituals like burning a list or what you want to release. Other rituals involve divinization such as tarot or candle wax reading and other ones that I've explained as well, and visiting cemeteries to honour the dead and looking after the cemetery on that day as well. I go and put flowers and things down. I'll lift anything up that's fell down, things like that. I always like to make sure that the graveyards that I visit always look nice, and I always like to make sure the spirits know that they are thought of. And I don't just do this on Samhain. I do this all year round. So ancestor veneration and spirit work. So sewing altars create an altar with seasonal items like apples, pumpkins, and acorns, along with photos and mementos or deceased of the deceased loved one. So belongings, gadgets that belong to them, photos that you might have of them, trinkets that you might have with them. But also remember to incorporate some of the elements of sewing into that as well, and your protection elements and things. You've got your dumb supper, as I've said to you, which is where you set up a dumb supper for your ancestors and your loved ones to come and be with you and have food, and you're silent and you use that time to eat but to also connect and to feel the energy and see what you get. Then offerings, obviously leave your food and drinks or other offerings outside for the spirits, or you can leave them on your altars or somewhere within your home, but always remember to call out to them so they know, and always say to them that when they're done, that they're to leave when they are ready. Taking cemetery visits to honor the dead and to just remind the spirit energies that they're not forgotten, to care for that place. A lot of cemeteries are forgotten and not loved and looked after enough. So those poor people have been forgotten too. So it's really important to do that. And as a witch, the dead are really important to us, to a lot of us. So you release rituals, which is where you write down the things that no longer serve you in life and things that you don't want, things that trouble you and hurt you. Write them down onto a piece of paper and burn them in a candle or in your fire of a fireplace or in a bonfire. Either way, but just make sure you do it safely. Fire ritual: use the energy of the bonfire to release the past and move forward with a clear mind. So you can use the fire ritual as you've done that, and the heat and the energy that you feel on it. You can manifest the energy of moving forward in your life and being successful, and clear your mind of anything that's not needed anymore. You can do a release and removal spell for that, just doing it in your head, speaking it out in your head, or whatever you wish to do. Another form that is good to do is your shadow work. As I said, engage in introspection and shadow work to comfort and to understand the parts of yourself that you've hidden away. So from your past, or from past lives, or from past things that have happened to you in this life, and maybe you've got past life things that are carrying in, things that you've faced, things that you've gone through that have been trauma, pain, trouble, stressful, all of those things that you don't want. That shadow work will help you to remove that and release that, and to see things in a positive way and to move forward. Shadow work is all about bringing that energy up, facing that energy, accepting that energy, and releasing it, letting it go. Burning a fire is the perfect way to do that. And writing it onto bay leaves is another one. Okay, writing all of your stuff that you're wanting to release or invoke into your life onto your bay leaves, and it will do that for you using the fire. So divination and intrusion to do with the sewing. So divination: use the heightened energy of sewing to practice divination with tools like tarot cards or a pendulum, or by doing apple peeling rituals, which one of them is represented to trying to find your love, your partner, and things like that. So there are so many different rituals and stuff like that. So I think the main thing you need to be just like focusing on is like your divination, such as your tarot cards and your pendulums, scry mirrors, your crystal balls, things like that. Tarot cards and your oracle cards are probably your first thing you should look into. They're the most relevant and most truthful way to do your readings, and it's good. They give you the insight you need. Obviously, your next one, as I just said to you, is your mirror gazing. Eat an apple in front of the mirror while combing your hair to see a vision of your true love in the mirror. This is another one apparently that you can do. But you can also just not sit there and eat apples, and not sit there and comb your hair, and you could actually use a mirror just to see if you can see anyone around you. Always remember to use protection and things though. Then candle wax reading, just a bit like your tea readings and things like that, but it's using wax. So it is really important, if you're going to want to do things like your tea readings and your candle wax readings, you've got to understand what different shapes symbolize and what they mean. So pour wax from a candle into a bowl of water and interpret the shape it creates to get insight and guidance. So you may get messages and insight to you of something that they're trying to say to you at that time when you do it, or look at the shape, look at what you think it looks like, and then do some research and study into what it means, and you'll be able to get your message. And remember to write everything down, guys. You really do need to write everything down, as you're going to forget everything. Okay, it's really key. So other rituals that you can do is protective charms. Like I said, you can create your charms to ward off spirits. So you can make your energy bags, you can make your bells to go above your door, you can make protection and cleansing jars. There are so many different things that you can do for protective charms. You can have your jewelry and stuff as well, stuff like that. Then you've got your feasting, which is cook and share a meal, focusing on the food of the season, like harvest vegetables, apples, and spiced cider. So bringing in your seasonal foods into your feast that you're wanting to do for you and your ancestors and the living people that may be joining you, Bring in seasonal food, but also remember to just incorporate the foods that your loved ones and your ancestors would like. Okay, and bring that in there as well. And remember again to always remember to leave some outside for the passing spirits so that they know they're not forgotten. Costumes, as I said, costumes and masks traditionally are really important and have been celebrated for centuries. They are what would be used to scare and to confuse negative energy and energy not wanted in our home and things like that. It brought confusion, okay? And it is also a form that brings protection to your home and to you. And it's also a way that you can invite those beautiful children to come and get their little treats and sweets as well for trick or treat. So now we're just going to get into some of the traditional meals that some of us witch folks will make for these traditions. I think all of this is really important. So what foods do witches eat on Samhain for traditions? So what do we incorporate and bring into it? So Samhain Samhain and witches and modern pagan and witch traditionally eat food that honor the final harvest. Remember ancestors and acknowledge the turning of the year. Foods associated with the celebration often incorporate seasonal ingredients and serve a symbolic or ritual purpose for the season and for us as witches. Okay, so traditional dishes that some of us would make is colacun. This Irish dish of mashed potatoes, cabbage, or kale and leeks is a staple of the Samhain feast. It was traditionally used for divination. Charms were mixed into the dish, and the item a person found would protect their future. So they would put them onto a necklace or carry them in a purse or carry them in a pocket in the olden days, things like that. So this feast you would normally have like the potatoes, the cabbage, the kale and the leeks, and you would put, you would put charms for the divination, and then you'd put charms to mix in the dishes to help with the divination and protection and things like that. And people would find them and eat, keep them for predicting their future and for communication. Barmbrack and another Irish tradition. This mildly sweet fruit bread is spiced with nutmeg and cinnamon. Like cologne, it is often baked with a ring, coin, or other trinket inside for future fortune telling. So this is another fortune telling method. You could incorporate and put things like protection amulets and things in there as well for them, as little gifts. But this Irish tradition, you would put in a coin, or you'd put a ring, or an important little trinket that is considered and related to fortune telling. But like I said, you can use other things like protection, cleansing, and stuff like that, like little symbols for that as well. Soul cakes, which is my favourite thing, and I love making these for the spirits and for myself. I am addicted to them. So soul cakes are absolutely amazing and a very traditional cake to make for something. It's a in between a cake and bread, to be honest. It's lush. It's got fruit. I always put nutmeg and I put cinnamon and honey and stuff in them as well. Oh god, they're just so lovely. You can make them how you want them. There is a traditional way of doing them, but your tradition is how you make it. So originally an act of charity, these sweet spiced cakes were given to the poor in exchange for prayers for the dead and for protection in home, so that like it warded and kept negative energies away. So sometimes the poor, with the little bits of spice and things that they would have, they would make these cakes and go around to people's houses that were rich, and they would give these cakes in exchange for food and for money, and they would put a blessing that the home and the family would be protected from anything negative and stuff like that. If you didn't, they didn't do it, and bad things would come to you apparently. So but another way that they say is that the spice cakes were given to the poor in exchange for prayers for the dead. So it was both ways round, okay? And today they are baked and shared as a way to honour our ancestors and our family. Yes, the tradition today. We make the cakes. Yes, we remember the significance of what they were for, and how by making them they were able to keep people healthy and alive for as long as they could, because it was really hard to do that in the olden days. But it today is most definitely seen as a way of honouring your ancestors, your loved ones, and the spirits on the other side. And you put these out on your altars that you have built for them, and you would invite them in to enjoy them, and you'd have some yourself, obviously. Buttered sowens is a Scottish tradition. This simple dish of oats, husks, and butter was historically eaten on Samhain, with a ring hidden inside. So again, an amulet that was hidden inside that would help with like the fortune telling. But again, you could put other things in there for protection and other things that you may be needing as well, guys. You do not need to stick to one thing. But traditionally, it would have been a ring. So some of the symbolic foods for Samhain are apples, often associated with the other world and the land of the dead. Apples are frequently used in Samhain rituals. These can be eaten as part of the feast or used for scrying. Peeling an apple in one continued strip for divinization and connection, but it's also said to be used for a tradition to call your loved one to you, your person you're going to marry or fall in love with. Another is fruit, is root vegetables. As the last remnants of the autumn harvest, hearty vegetables like potatoes, carrots, turnips, and beets are featured in stews and roasted dishes. They symbolize grounding, protection, and stability. Okay, so all of the meals that we make and the things that we use all have a spiritual significance and something that's important to sowing. Okay, then you've got your squash and your pumpkins that you can make into beautiful pies and cakes, whether they're savory or they're sweet. You can do those. Okay, so these gourds represent abundance, healing, and harmony. Carving pumpkins on their traditional procedure and turnips and beets was often done to ward off malevolent spirits. So all of these you can eat them, you can make them into sweet or savoury dishes, and you can also use the shell like the pumpkin, or if you do beets and other things like that, you can use the shell to put candles and coal in them and keep away negative energy, because in the olden days they would use coal more than they did candles, because candles were quite expensive to come by when you didn't have a lot of money. It just keeps away evil and malevolent spirit, okay, and keeps away negative energy. Another one is nuts, which symbolises fertility and wisdom. Nuts are a traditional part of the Samhain feast. In the past, Celts used nuts for divination rituals, so they would use them to communicate and to connect and to get messages as well by numbers and symbolisation and things like that. So yeah, there's a lot of amazing things you can do with food and other things like that, but they do symbolise fertility and wisdom. So fertility is the growth of things, and the anew, okay, and wisdom is the wisdom of the ancient world, the wisdom of the ancestors and spirits, the wisdom of our world today that we live upon. Okay, learning all of those artifacts and ways. Okay, pork. Historically, this meat was eaten during Samhain feast as livestock was killed in preparation for winter. In some folklore, pork is sacred to deities associated with the underworld. Pork is a meat that is classed as being sacred in the underworld. Yep, definitely to some of the deities. It is a meat that some will eat on Samhain. Not everybody in the witch faith eat meat at all. Some of them are actually vegetarian and stuff, guys. But for those that do, yeah, pork is definitely one that we would use, and I'm a meat eater. But again, like I said, we will always show homage and respect and honour to the spirits and the energy of that animal that was used for that, okay? And it's just a secret a way that feeds you and keeps you alive. And just the fact that these animals were taken so that people could survive makes them sacred. So it's a really important thing. Pomegranates associated with the Greek goddess Persephone. This fruit symbolizes life, death, and rebirth. It represents the cycle journey of the soul, which is what Persephone went through. She was living, then she went to the underworld because she was kidnapped, okay? And then she was rebirthed because Hecate brought her back to the world. So she has half the year in the underworld and half the year here upon the living world, okay? And this is what Persephone is associated with. But the reason for her being in this dilemma is because she actually ate the pomegranates in the underworld, and she become the queen through marriage of her kidnapper. And it represents, like it says, the cycle, the journey of the soul. So going from, life, living, to death, to rebirth, recoming and coming back. Whether this is in another person form or a spirit, whatever, you are coming back. You are rebirthed. You are still living. You have things you need to do. So, yeah. Okay. Traditional beverages, cider and mead. These drinks, often prepared with seasonal fruit, are traditional for sowing. They can be part of the feast or used for ceremonial toasts to honour the dead. Yeah, so cider and mead would be used in the feast. People would sit there and honour and respect and drink together and have a laugh and celebrate. But we would also remember their ancestors and their loved ones. But some of us would also use these drinks to bring into our ceremonies, calling on our ancestors, calling on our spirits, calling on the dead, asking them to come forward and communicate with us. And we would give these drinks out as a toast to them. So we would take some and then we would leave it for them to have some as well. So it was shared by the living and the dead. So yeah, cider and mead are really, really important drinks. And wassail, a spiced mulled cider punch. Wassail is drunk to toast the health of others and can be made with or without alcohol. So this can be a non-alcoholic drink, or this can be an alcohol drink or a non-alcohol drink. Okay, it is a spiced mulled and it's cider, which is obviously made by apples, which is you can either make it into an alcohol or not. And this was normally drunk, okay, to bring health to others, bring good health and protection and love to others. Okay, this was a way to honor and to bring that energy out to the living. Okay, and you could also do it for the dead as well. So herbs and traditions. Herbs, spices like rosemary for remembrance, sage for cleansing, thyme for physic awareness, and cinnamon for prosperity are added to the dishes to infuse them with magical intent, bringing those energies of what they represent. Remember that these herbs represent a lot more than just these few words I've just said to you as well. They represent a lot of different things. That some of them may be, important to your sowing celebration, but the main ones for the herbs is your rosemary is for your remembrance of the spirits and the energies. Sage is for cleansing and protecting and keeping away energy not needed. Time is for physical awareness, becoming open, being aware of the other side, communicating and connecting with you. And cinnamon for prosperity, for being open, for being grateful, and for receiving and wanting to do greater. Okay, so a lot of us would infuse these sort of things into our foods and stuff we're making for the feasts to bring good intent and to bring blessings and things upon others and to the spirits. Then obviously the other one is the dumb supper, which I've said to you so many times. Many witches hold a dumb supper or silent supper to welcome their ancestor spirits. The meal is eaten in complete silence with an extra plate left on a table to honour the dead. And you would put your food on there. You would call them forward to come with you. You would also release them after they're finished, okay? But you would call them to come and join you with the food, and you would normally sit there in silence. You would eat that food and you would just take notice of what you feel, you sense, or you hear, or any sort of the abilities that we are associated to have and do have within, you know taking notice of those abilities and taking notice of what you get around you while you've invited them in and while you're working with them in that way, and you're both eating together. So yeah, silent supper is an amazing way. So another thing that people always talk about is about the fires. Okay, why are fires lit at Samhain? Well, fires are lit at Samhain because Samhain is a fire festival. It's a festival of transformation. It's a festival of new beginnings, and it's also a festival of letting go. It's all three. Okay, so fire is the most powerfulest element. All of the elements are powerful, but the fire element is very powerful, really good at manifesting and removing things you don't want. And let's face it, in most of our rituals, we need a form of fire to get rid of whatever we're doing or doing what we need to do. Even as simple as lighting a sage to cleanse a room, you need a fire. Okay, so fire is really, really important, and that is why it's the festival. So fires were lit at Samhain celebrations to ward off evil spirits, to honor ancestors, and to mark the transition to winter. The bonfires were believed to purify and protect communities, with the flames acting as a symbolic barrier against the spirits. Through to though thought to roam freely when the veil between the living and the dead becomes thin on this night. The ritual also involved communal hearths being doused and relit from a single large bonfire, symbolizing unity for the coming dark seasons. Okay, the spiritual, the spiritual and practical purposes of sowing fires is for protection. Large bonfires or hilltops were lit to purify and protect against malevolent forces, with torches also carried around homes and fields to safeguard the property from all negative and unwanted energy. Honouring the ancestors, fires were lit to honour the dead and allow them to return safely, and it was believed that ancestor spirits sought warmth near the hearths, which is your home. By the way, hearths are your home, your secret place. Transition to winter. The Samhain marked the end of the harvest and the beginning of the winter, a time of darkness. The bonfires provide a source of light and warmth, and villagers would take embers home to remember their hearths, symbolizing a continuation of life and renewal, life carrying on, and life becoming anew. Yeah, definitely. And warmth and protection, and just to keep away those those dark thoughts and feelings and stuff as well. Community unity. A central communal fire was used to relight individual hearths, creating a sense of unity and shared experience for the community. Hearths, so I think they're a sort of a type of wreath, something that is put up onto the fires and stuff like that. But there is also a hearth that you would have in the house, which is your fireplace and stuff. So that's why I said about the inside housing stuff as well. So yeah, so community, community unity. People would come together. They would have these fire festivals. They would put certain things that represent the sowing and removing and bringing in certain temperaments of energy needed and stuff like that. And just to share those experiences with other people and to have a sense of belonging. Okay. And the last one is divinization. Fires were also used in divinization rituals, such as throwing nuts into the flames to predict the fate of lovers. So, with that one, I guess that if it did not burn or break or anything like that, then it means that your relationship was strong. But if it broke and went into pieces, then it showed troubles and things that come forward. But fires also are not just for like throwing nuts and stuff into. Um, Fire and bonfires are a very spiritual significance to the sowing, and a lot of it is about the connection with you know the spirits and the ancestors, and just the remembrance and the honor of our planet and the spiritual planet. That's what's important. And some of the modern connections, these ancient fire traditions evolved into modern Halloween traditions like carving pumpkins, which originally they used turnips, and jack-o'-lanterns, which served a similar purpose of using light to ward off the evil spirits and to remove the evil spirits. Okay, so I hope that's like helped you to come to understand a lot more about the sewing, um, what the representation of the sewing is, what it means, what it stands for. The sewing is a very important and very secret ritual. It's very personal and very special because it's about connecting with this, the ancestors, the spirits, and the energies of the world. It's a time where we recognize that the veil is thin between our world and the spirit world, and that loved ones and energies that we are close to can come back more regularly. It's a time of remembering and celebrating the last harvest, the last boundaries and gifts that we had sown and got over the year, and using them to carry us through the cold months and the cold time of year. Sowing is the mark of the death of the sun god and the death and sleep of Mother Nature, going to sleep and sleeping to become strong and renewed and to reincarnate next year. Sowing is a lot about celebrating your ancestors. It's about celebrating the new year. It's about celebrating new comings of new beginnings and new options and new opportunities. And it's also a time for releasing all things that do not serve us or we do not want. But it is also a time that we use to contemplate and to look back on things that have been hard for us in life that we may have hid working with our shadow work as well. There is so much spiritual significance to sewing, and for anybody coming into the witch practices and stuff like that, even if you're not going to be somebody that goes into a group tradition and you're going to be a solitary and solo witch, I do think that it's really important that any type of witch coming into the practice celebrates the seasons. There are 8 Sabbaths that should be celebrated, and and remember, again, even though I've gave you the information of this, there is so much more that you can find, that you can do. I've only gave you some of the basis of the stuff to do with sewing, which is a lot of information already, but look in books, look online, follow your favorite practitioners. They will all have information about these places and things as well, guys, and you would be able to get more information. Write it all down, have it all there, so that each year you know what you can do for each year. And just remember that you practice your magic, and who you are is your own. Nobody else is you, and you are nobody else. Okay. And every deity, every energy you work with will work with you differently, will tell you to cast your spells differently, speak differently, write differently. So just be yourself. Don't try to be like anyone else. Take advice and use that as a factor to get you through your teaching. But when you are confident, when you are open and you are ready to do your magic for yourself, you put in the herbs you feel you want to put in there. You put and use the candles you feel like. At the minute, I'm giving you the basis of the colours and things to use. And in the Sabbaths, the colours we give you normally are represented to that. So for your Sabbaths, I would stick to the colours that are said. But when you're doing your rituals, when you're doing your workings, when you're doing your openings in your spell work, sometimes you will see colours that are told to you and you won't feel a connection with that, and you'll feel it with another colour. Go with the colours that you feel that energy represents. And it's the same with your herbs, with your oils, everything. Your herbs, your oils, and your candles will not do the magic without your intention. And remember that. So I hope that you have enjoyed learning about the sewing. Um, the Samhain celebration is a secret and very important time to witches. It's a time to honour and to respect this world, to honour and respect all of the things and the people in it that have helped us to survive this year, including animals. But it's also a time to look forward, because it's the new year for the witches. It's a new beginning. It's a new start. And it's just a time for being grateful. It's a time for letting go of the things that you don't need. And it's a time for bringing in the things that you do need. And just do it all with meaning. And just truly want to be connecting to it. Okay? Because when you truly connect with your heart and your soul, you feel everything, guys. Like, there'll be hundreds of thousands of people out here that say that this stuff is all in our heads. We're not right in the head. We're hallucinating, and we're not. This is real. We have had things happen to us. We have had experiences. We have cast spells and done things that have worked. We know that this is not just an imagination. This is real. Magic is real. When people sit there, they go, "Yeah, well, you're going on about that you have power within you." Not power as in like sparks are going to fly out your hands and that, but we do have a power within us. The power is that belief. The power is the belief in that manifestation of what we're wanting. That's what the power is. It's manifestation. It's what you're wanting. The power of the magic. The magic is the world, the place that we live upon. The energy, what it gives you. We are connected to that. That is within us. So when you look at a film and you watch these superheroes with superhero powers, that is not what power is. Okay, power is about manifestation and belief and truth. Okay, and it's knowing what is needed. Okay, that is what power is, and we all hold that. It's bringing that essence out. Once you bring that essence out and you believe in that element and that energy, you can do anything. You are made to be able to do that. It's just believing and opening to it. So I have spoke to you about the sewing. I have really enjoyed doing this video with you. I hope that it has brought you a lot of educational information. It's helped you to understand our sewing celebration, our Halloween celebration. For you guys that don't know what sewing means, it's a celebration of that witches do that is associated to what you guys would celebrate as Halloween, just different. Um, So I hope that you've found that education. I hope you've got your pens and papers. I hope you write everything down. I hope that you have found education, advice, and you've found guidance through this video. So just make sure that you tune in for the next video that's going to be coming out on Wednesday, which is where I'm going to be talking to you about the hedge witch. Okay, that is going to be the topic. And these are all season 1. So after the hedge witch, season 2 will be coming, where I will be talking about another god and goddess. And then on season 2, on the second part, which is this, I will be talking about another Sabbath and one witch. Okay, so this is what I'm going to be doing each week. Okay, so on a Tuesday or a Wednesday, so it could either be Tuesday and Wednesday, where I put 2 videos, the videos for season 2, or it'll be a Wednesday and a Thursday. Okay, so look between Tuesday and Thursday. Okay, for any shows coming up, and the shows will be, like I said, season. Like the first part will be just the goddesses, then the second part will be one of the Sabbaths and one witch. Okay, so keep tuned in for those shows. Please look out for any of the shows that Sister Drew will be putting up that's in association with these shows as well, where she'll be talking about divination and also talking about tools and things that you use in altars and how they're represented to certain energies and stuff in the craft as well, and any of her other really important and cool stuff that she puts out. And also come out and look over at I still call her Mystical Love and Light, you know, the Tanel family vlog. Just go and look at her as well. She's absolutely amazing. She is a sister. She's got a lot of knowledge and experience. So just keep eye out for people's channels, but especially definitely mine and Sister Drew's, because we are going to be bringing these education shows. We have got a show coming on Saturday starting up. That is, well, it was originally my show, but now me and Sister Drew are going to be going into it together. It's just going to be a show on a Saturday where we do a show for a few hours instead of it only being an hour, and we do like anything from card readings, which we will be doing in most of them, spirit communication, which we'll be doing in most of them. And then it'll be things like interviews and open panels, storytelling, just anything that's of the weird and the unknown and magical. So yeah, so as well as having that show Saturday, there's going to be a lot of educational shows, not just these shows I'm doing here in series, but there'll be like little uploads here and there on our channels and stuff as well, with education bits and purposes in it as well. So I hope that you have enjoyed this video. I hope that you have got a lot of advice and you have learned a lot from it, and I hope that you will tune in for the next show that is going to be on Wednesday, which is about the hedge witch. And until then, lots of love, light and blessings, and a merry parting from Willow, and thank you for watching, and blessed be. Merry parting.